With a delay of more than a year and a half, Russia completed the controversial Nord Stream 2 pipeline to Germany. Gazprom boss Alexei Miller announced on Friday that the monopoly's morning meeting that construction would be completed at 8:45 a.m. Moscow time. That's 7:45 CET. That's what the company announced. The last pipe was laid on September 6th. After that, individual sections of the line would have to be connected to one another. Now, everything was done, it was said. Miller, a close confidant of Russian President Vladimir Putin, had already announced that the gas should flow through the new line this year, in time for the heating season, so that everyone in Europe would be nice and warm. The first gas could flow through the first of the two strings of Nord Stream 2 as early as October. When asked whether this was a great triumph for Putin after the bitter resistance of the USA, Ukraine and other countries against the pipeline, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said, "When Nord Stream 2 goes into operation, then the energy suppliers will be as well winners like the consumers, so everyone is." Certification by the German authorities is still required for commissioning. It is not clear when the start permit will be given. "We are all interested in it happening as quickly as possible," said Peskov. The first strand had already been laid at the beginning of June. Moscow sees the completion of the line as good news ahead of the parliamentary elections in Russia on September 19th and a week later in Germany. In spite of all the criticism, the federal government in Germany also stuck to the project, which cost investors more than 10 billion euros. However, with a view to the next federal government, there is also great concern in Moscow that there could be new problems for the line that have been rejected by the Greens, for example. And it's still possible that we have Green involvement in the next government. Above all, the resistance of the USA, which threatened and also imposed sanctions, delayed the construction, which was supposed to be finished at the end of 2019. Construction work for Nord Stream 2 began in 2018. The pipeline is expected to deliver 55 billion cubic meters of gas per year from Russia through the Baltic Sea to Germany. According to the operating company, this can supply 26 million households. The US government criticizes that Europe is too dependent on Russia for its energy supply. A German-American agreement stipulates that Russia will be subject to sanctions if the pipeline is used as a geopolitical weapon. Moscow rejected that. And the German Greens criticized the climate-damaging balance of the gas. There are still complex approval and certification processes on the agenda, so that the commissioning should still take some time, said the Green Bundestag member Oliver Krischer. From the point of view of the Deutsche Umwelthilfe, that's a German environmental help, the line must not go into operation. He said Nord Stream 2 is and will remain a mega project that would cement the dependence on fossil natural gas for decades. At least that was said by the Umwelthilfe Federal Managing Director Sascha Müller-Krenner in Berlin. In contrast, the chairman of the Committee on Economic Affairs and Energy in the Bundestag, Klaus Ernst from the Left Party, said there were advantages for the climate, because the alternative to Nord Stream 2 would mean for Europe to import more US fracking gas. However, this is produced in a significantly more environmentally harmful manner and is also even more expensive. This is also the position of the Kremlin, which had also pointed out that the previous transit of gas through Ukraine was more damaging to the environment than the new pipeline. According to this, the old compressors in the ailing network in particular cause environmentally harmful emissions. Russia had built Nord Stream 1 and now also Nord Stream 2 in order to become more independent from Ukraine, which has long been the most important transit country. And as you probably know, the two countries are at odds. In addition, Moscow criticizes Kiev for doing nothing to rehabilitate its transit network. The financially weak Ukraine, on the other hand, is urgently dependent on the billions in revenue from the charges for gas transmission. The ex-Soviet Republic is hoping for Germany's support so that it can continue to play a role as a transit country in the future. During a conversation with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Merkel suggested using the network to transport hydrogen. There should also be German money for this. Zelensky, however, said that it was a long way off and that it was not really capable of helping him. Well, the current contract for the transmission of Russian gas expires in 2024. Ukraine wants to extend it with German mediation. However, Putin recently stated at a meeting with Merkel in Moscow that future gas transit via Ukraine would be dependent on demand on Europe's energy market. The 1,230-kilometer pipeline, which has two strands, was financed half by the Russian energy giant Gazprom and half by the five companies OMV, Wintershall Dea, Engie, Uniper and Shell. Gazprom plans to pump 5.6 billion cubic meters of gas through the pipeline this year. And Nord Stream 2 runs from Vyborg in Russia through the Baltic Sea to Lubmin near Greifswald in Mecklenburg, western Pomerania. According to Gazprom, 33.7 billion cubic meters of gas had already been pumped through the existing Nord Stream 1 pipeline in the first 7 months of this year. That is more than in the same period last year. 2020 was therefore a record year with a total of 59.3 billion cubic meters. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.